Alright, Helldivers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over the Force of Law Warbond, and I'm going to give my review on it. And is this a good warbond, a bad warbond, or is it more of a mixed bag? Now, I'm not going to waste any time. I'll tell you right up front, this is more of a mixed bag. So for the rest of the video, we're going to go over my impressions and kind of how I arrived at this conclusion. If this is your first time visiting the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We do Helldiver stuff here. But anyways, let's get started. Man, I gotta tell you guys, before we get started, I had really high hopes for this warbond. I saw the trailer and I thought this one was gonna pop off, and unfortunately, maybe because I was so excited about it, it just feels very middle of the road. Anywho, let's break it down. Alright, first thing we're going to talk about here is the AR-32 pacifier. This is a large capacity assault rifle firing humane stun rounds. Reports of lethal incidents have been thoroughly debunked. Now, if we look at the stats, we see 50 damage. That's not great. Capacity of 40. That recoil, not too bad. You can kind of curve that with a vertical grip, and the fire rate of 700, which makes it on the, I would say, higher end for assault rifles. And then on the right side there, for its weapon traits, you see medium pen and stun, making this a very unique AR. Now, when we compare it to the other medium pen assault rifles, the Liberator Penetrator and the Adjudicator both do more damage than this, obviously, because the pacifier here has that stun effect, making it more of a control and support weapon. And because of that, this weapon is not going to be for everybody. Now, if we quickly check out the customization options here, for the optics, I'm looking at that combat scope or that ×2 red dot scope. I like both of those. The holographic sight too, I like that one as well. When we move to the underbarrels though, I really like the vertical foregrip, kind of gets a handle on that recoil. And then when it comes to the muzzles, kind of has the standard AR muzzles. And then you can see there, yeah, we have no magazine customization for this weapon, which that's unfortunate. Now, how does this weapon perform against all the factions? And I gotta say, it kind of sits in the middle of the pack, maybe on the lower end. And I think that comes down to the power of this weapon, and stun duration overall in this game is not that long. So I think those are the two issues with this weapon: low damage, and then stun duration is just not long enough. But going back to those weapon traits, it does have medium pen, meaning against the Illuminate there, yeah, you can shoot the head off of those overseers, and that feels really nice. And then when it comes to the Terminids, taking out biospewers also feels good. I probably wouldn't recommend this weapon against the bots because of that low damage, but pairing this primary weapon with a good sidearm, grenade, and then stratagem backpack or stratagem weapon can make this completely viable against the bots. And next up, let's talk about the G109 Urchin. This is kind of like the thermite, where it'll stick to a target, but instead of doing burning damage and then exploding, it'll do a pulsing stun effect instead. And now I really want to point out the outer radius of this thing. It's only at 4. And if we compare that to the G23 stun grenade, that has a radius of 10. So over double the radius there for that stun effect. So our original stun grenade is going to be better at hitting more targets, but the Urchin here is going to have the advantage if you just want to basically stun lock one big enemy like a charger, Hulk, or even a flesh mob. Although I have noticed a flesh mob, sometimes the pulses don't stop it, like if it's already charging, so keep that in mind. But overall, I don't know how much I'm actually going to be using this grenade, because I think I would rather use the thermite or the regular stun grenade. I think this grenade does serve its purpose. It's just if you really vibe with that purpose and that fits your playstyle, great. But for me, yeah, just kind of mediocre and underwhelming, and not something I see myself using too often. Now let's move on to the armor here. We got the armor passive ballistic padding. This is going to add 25 damage resistance to both explosive and damage to our chest, and also prevents bleeding from our chest hemorrhages. This is a good perk at keeping you alive. It does make you harder to kill, so big thumbs up there. And also the drip is amazing. So I would say the first good thing about this warbond is the armor and the armor perk. Now let's move on to the two stratagems that come with this warbond, and the first one here is the de-escalator. This is an arc thrower grenade launcher, and because it does arc damage, it means that it penetrates any armor. This thing is surprisingly good at taking out harvesters. It's good at taking out Bile Titans, Hulks, Chargers, all from hitting them in the front. You don't have to like wheel around to hit a weak spot like the regular grenade launcher. No, you can face things down with this thing head on and take them out efficiently. Now there are some negatives with this weapon. One, you hand load the grenade, so that takes a while. It doesn't have a grenade belt like, again, our regular grenade stratagem weapon. And this weapon basically does 0 damage to buildings and structures, as in it will not close a bug hole, so that's kind of a problem. So if you have another way of destroying structures, then taking the de-escalator here to basically do a lot of good damage is not a bad idea. Pair this with some of the arc resistance armor, and you can really get up and close with this weapon and just go to town, and anything near you is going to basically get eviscerated by these arc grenades, and your arc resistance armor will keep you perfectly protected. I think this is another good thing about this warbond. I really like this stratagem weapon, so again, thumbs up there. Now the next stratagem we get is another guard dog, the K9. This is an arc thrower in guard dog form, and again, because it's an arc weapon, it's going to ignore armor. Now when I saw the trailer for this thing, I was worried about this thing basically being a team killer, and I was basically right. This thing has a nasty habit of zapping your teammates, so be careful about that. And another thing I noticed about this guard dog here is the activation range for the guard dog to start using the arc thrower. It's kind of closer than I would like it to be. It seems like once it does start shooting at a target, you can back away and it'll actually have good range. But yeah, that first initial shot it takes seems to be, you have to be pretty close to the target. But once it gets going, yeah, it's really good. It's an arc thrower. It's going to stun them. It's going to ignore their armor, and eventually it's going to kill them. It's a really good guard dog in my opinion. Again, just be careful about the range and being around your allies. And oh yes, we did get a booster. We got the stun pods booster. Kind of works like the Freedom of Flames, that flame pod where it'll come down, and instead of doing a fire effect, it'll instead do a stun effect. This isn't going to be used by anybody after these first couple days of the warbond, and it's kind of a troll booster, so I would definitely not use this. So that's the warbond. Again, kind of a mixed bag, some good, some bad. But alongside the warbond, we also got a superstore update where they have added a weapon, a sidearm, and also some armor if you want to look like Judge Dredd. So that's pretty cool too. Anywho, let's talk about that sidearm and if it's worth buying with your super credits. So from the superstore, we can pick up the P92 Warrant. This is a pistol that fires jet propelled ammunition and has a guided and a non-guided firing mode. You can see with the stats there, pretty good damage at 80, capacity at 13, the recoil is at 31, which actually shares the same recoil as the Verdict, but in practice you'll see this thing kicks like a motherfucker. Now even though this is a burst fire sidearm, you can actually tap the trigger and fire off single rounds. It's just very sensitive. Now how the guided system works with this weapon, kind of similar to the spear or the wasp, where it has to lock on first before you're going to get that guided shot, but it's very snappy and it happens quickly. I will say the guided ammunition works out pretty well, but against something like shriekers that move pretty quickly, it doesn't always connect with them, so that can be a little frustrating. Now when testing this weapon, I was using it with and without the gunslinger perk, and I gotta say, even with the gunslinger perk, yes, this thing still kicks a lot if you're not using that guided mode. So I would recommend using this weapon in the guided mode. Just know it actually won't lock on to large chaff like an alpha commander. So again, that can be a little frustrating. I really like the design of this pistol, but yeah, it does have a lot of nuances. And can I recommend somebody getting it for 300 super credits? And I gotta say, no, I don't think this thing is worth 300 super credits. And speaking of a guard dog K9, yeah, how'd you think the warbond was, baby? Pretty decent? Yeah, it's okay. All right, stop shooting on me. Okay, bye. You're ruining everything. See ya. She hasn't made an appearance in a while, and there's a reason why. She's very unruly. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Anywho, that's my thoughts on the warbond and the update we got with the superstore. Kind of all like middle of the road. At least they have some unique features. I will say this warbond had a very strong theme as far as being stun and arc oriented, and of course like law enforcement, Judge Dredd, stuff like that. Let me know how you all are enjoying the new warbond and update, and I will see you next time. Peace and take care.